we went to St. Louis for my niece's graduation and just to be with family. And I'm sitting next to my mom. I'm like, Mom, you ain't coughed the whole time we been here. She said, I haven't coughed since you prayed for me. And I was like, wow.
And so one of the things that I've seen in you this year is your growth in prayer. You know, you starting the family prayer lines this year were absolutely they were revolutionary. I watched you grow in those. Like the first couple, we were nervous. You didn't really know what to say or how people would receive it, but people really showed up. You know what I mean? Like one of them, we had like 20-something people, 20-something family members on the call, and the feedback was great. And so I'm proud of you for that. And I've seen the growth, not just in what you know, but in who you are. Mm-hmm.
I remember it just being pressed upon me for something to do, and I would be shaking and scared, but I have seen how prayer has transitioned my family, seen healing and deliverance from certain things. And even with our house, we've seen our prayers answered in real time.
Right. We saw the miracle that God worked through your prayers and your mom this year. You want to kind of explain that?
So my mom had been struggling health-wise with like this cough and heart. I think it's, what is it, AFib, BFib?
Yeah, it's all that.
So her heart was having issues, and she was having these coughing spells where she would like black out, or she would have to pull over her car, go to the hospital. She went to several doctors and did all kinds of tests, studies, seen all kinds of specialists, and tried to change things about the house. And no one could figure out what was wrong with her. They said it was all kinds of things, but she was struggling, I would say, for maybe 3 or 4 years with this cough, and it just kept getting worse over the years. So at the beginning of last year, we started the 21 days of prayer and fasting. So I had been fasting a little bit beforehand, but that was the first time I had done an extensive fast, and also that much prayer. So I just stayed in that vein, and I joined a marriage ministry with Trail Ravenel. She does wives who win. So I joined that prayer ministry, and just hearing her pray, talk about healing, along with church and Bible studies, talking to the women there. So those things encouraged me to just do the prayer line. And my mom, she was in the hospital, I think, for a while. So I had booked a ticket for me and the...
Duty, keep it down a little bit. You can talk, but just keep it down a little bit, okay? All right, go ahead.
So my mom had... This was between January and the end of March. So at the beginning of April, I believe my mom went to the hospital. Not only that, my oldest brother also went to the hospital, and my sister was telling me stories like, Mom, I don't know what to do. She would black out sometimes, or, you know, she was just uncomfortable. Plus it was COVID and all those things. So I booked a ticket to go to Milwaukee for the kids and I. My husband had to work, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go. It's my niece's birthday, so it'll just be a good time to be with the family. And Trail had a prayer that day she did every morning, and she was like, I want to pray for someone. There's someone that's traveling and they need like a special grace or something. I'm like, I'm headed to the airport now. So she prayed for me. And in Bible study previously, I was telling them how I was just, worried about my mom and scared to pray and all those things. So I went to Milwaukee, long story short, and I just really wanted to pray for my mom. But I was just scared because I was new to praying out loud with others, and I didn't know how she would receive it. So my mom goes to work at like 5 in the morning. I was sleeping, but I heard her moving around, and for some reason she couldn't find her keys, It was like, go pray with her. Then after she found her keys, she couldn't find the socks she brought out. It was just like a lot of stuff happening to where it delayed her leaving the house. So I was like, Mom, can I pray for you? And she was a little hesitant, but I went on ahead and prayed. So I prayed. I don't remember nothing I said, but I was just happy. Like, I felt the release, a transfer, and I was so happy about that. And before, I stayed there for a few days, and then she took me to the airport an hour away in Chicago, and she was like, you got to pray for me before you go. I'm like, okay. So I prayed for her again, and it was cool because she initiated asking me to pray, and because I wasn't expecting nothing more, you know, my goal was just really to pray that first time, but she asked me to pray, so I prayed with her just regarding her health and getting to and from, you know, safe travels and all those things. So I went home and I called my husband and let him know how everything went. I was just so excited, and I heard nothing else about it until May. We went to St. Louis for my niece's graduation and just to be with family. And I'm sitting next to my mom. I'm like, Mom, you ain't coughed the whole time we've been here. You know, coughing was like a part of her life. Like, she was going to have a coughing spell like for 3 to 5 minutes at least, 4 to 5 times a day. She said, I haven't coughed since you prayed for me. And I was like, wow. You know, it was such a victory, not necessarily for me, but a victory, one, for my mom, a way for me to go deeper in faith, and just
speak quietly.
Just me showing that, just a way for me to see that God works through me. And it's also a seed planted, because now when my mom speaks to others about her health, she's like, Lumpy prayed for me. And I'm like, go ahead. So it's just a way to share the power of God and just building faith in others, even if it's, you know, just through her testimony. So, and then with my cousin, that's a different story. It was still the same thing. We were in Milwaukee at the same time, and he was just there, and I just felt led to pray with him. And I prayed with him, and from that moment on, he said that one thing that stuck with me, that he was like, that's the first time a woman has prayed for me in a while. I can't remember since someone, but it had been a while, and I was just like, wow. You know, we hear people say, like, I'm praying for you, you know, when you lose someone or when you're going through something, but to actually have someone pray for you or with you, like, that you can hear, is not common in certain places or with certain people. So just for him to say that, and then just like his transition in the faith and learning more about Christ, it was just so rewarding, just to allow God to use me and just to be obedient, because I could have allowed fear to prevent me from just reaching and touching others. So it's been a blessing, and I've seen a lot of reward from my obedience in that area of prayer.
That's amazing. Can you talk about some of your struggles with wanting to pray publicly and wanting?
So that's a good question.
Go ahead.
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. The biggest fear that I have with prayer is, one, knowing the word, because God's word cannot return to him void. So if you pray the scripture, then you know, you're speaking to God with the words that he said. So not knowing exactly how the word is framed, or the Bible and the verse in the context, that always troubled me, because it's like, I can't remember. So I always felt like my prayers weren't effective because I couldn't say like, the Lord is my shepherd, or, you know, just the different common verses that people use when praying. So that always just stopped me. Also, not speaking in tongues, that kind of put a fear in me. Not knowing if I'm supposed to pray a certain way, or not knowing how to pray, not knowing what words to use. Being with my family, praying in a way that will be received. So for people that are in church more, there are certain words and ways, like using wisdom in prayer, I guess, and discernment, so that it could be something that they can receive on whatever level they're on. So trying to reach people on different faith and spiritual journeys and levels in one point in prayer. So also during this time of just praying with my family, praying with loved ones and friends, I was still on a prayer line with Trail, and one thing she said is nothing is wasted. So I always try to think of that when I'm praying with someone, like nothing is wasted. So, and I'm making sure I'm doing my best, like if that's my best. And if it's received, I know that I wasn't doing it just like to get a good job from the person, but I'm trying to just send prayers to heaven on their behalf or on our behalf or whatever.
That's good. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to intercession is just having a heart for that person's soul, caring about that person's soul.
Yeah.
And you have that. You really do care about people. You love your family. And I think that's why God positioned you the way he did, because you're not trying to convince them with your own lofty words. And God is glorified in your prayers because they're not so high-minded and spiritual, but they're effective.
Yeah.
So you don't get the glory, he does, but you have a heart for your family. Your heart is connecting with them, and then also connecting with God on their behalf. I think that's one of your superpowers, just caring about people, caring about the people you pray for. If you have that and you have a word from the Lord to pray and you follow that word, I think he's going to put his miraculous or his supernatural on your natural. Love can cast out that fear. Your love for them, your desire to see them saved, your desire to see their soul healed,
Right.
can cast out fear in that moment. When you care about something or somebody so much, fear can't stop you from crossing that bridge or that water to get to them. But it's like, if you see your child and they're in danger and you gotta walk through a den of snakes to get to them to save them from that danger, you're gonna do that because the love that you have for them casts out the fear that you have of snakes in that moment. And you're gonna walk through those snakes and get your kid. You know what I'm saying?
I remember when Prophet Judah came in August, he said, fear is the language of the devil. And that stuck with me. He said, faith is the language of God and fear is the language of the devil. So that ties into God did not give us a spirit of fear. So I realized how much fear had crippled many things that I wanted to do, not just ministry, but just in life. Like, I'm scared to speak up. I'm scared to go here, go there. I'm scared for the kids to do certain things. So the fear was preventing me from doing a lot of things. So I know when fear rises up, I have to push and press and pray past it. So before it gets dark, let's talk about your 2022.
Yeah, I feel like this was for you today. I don't know. I feel like this was for you. I mean,